we're going to start dropping some more content on now that the conference season is over. I got more time to, you know, to work on, more the content side of things. I'm gonna start dropping some documentaries. If you guys remember, we talked a little bit about the Domino Sugar Company. We talked about different things. I'm gonna have a series that I'm gonna start next week called Weird and Rich, and it's gonna discuss the weird stuff and the fascinating stuff about finance over the last 1,000 years, right? Different things that maybe a lot of people didn't know. We're gonna discuss different elements. We're gonna discuss how the banks get over. All of this stuff's gonna be covered in this new series, right? So the first episode is going to be about the Domino Sugar Company's impact in Puerto Rico, how they took over the land, how they did different things. The second one's going to be about Bitcoin and AI. So we're going to do a lot of these types of concepts, like the weird side of finance and the weird side of technology. So I need you guys to do something for me. Share this live with 10 of your friends, right? And I know it's harder, but you can do it through text. You can do it through you can do it through Instagram, right? You can go to Instagram if you're on. You could do it on Facebook or whatever. So also, I need you guys to do something for me. Is please hit that like button. So like right now, how many people? We got about 200 and some people in here, but we only got 18 likes, which doesn't even make sense. So I need you guys to hit that like button before we can continue, right? 19 likes is ridiculous. We got 200 and some people in here. So I need to see some of those likes, right? So the CNC conference will be in December, more than likely. So we'll talk more about that. So I want to talk today about a few things today. I want to start out with restraint, right? And I want to talk about how that can help you in your life, right? And how it's helped me. And I'm going to talk about two things that I restrain myself from doing on purpose because it makes me more successful. And I'm going to tell you why, right? So there's two things I don't do in my life. If you know me, if you've been around me, you know there's two things I don't do. I don't eat pork. Now it's actually three things, right? I don't eat pork, I don't drink alcohol, and I don't curse. Right? And people say, well, why are you doing all that, man? I don't understand why you don't curse. Everybody drinks, everybody eats pork, right? But there's no religious reason I do that. Now, I am a Christian, but there's no religious reason I'm doing it. The reason why I restrain from certain things is because I want a daily reminder of how strong I am, right? When the whole world is doing these things, right? And there's nothing wrong with it. Like I said, everybody in my life, I don't have a problem with it. But I want to do something. I want to have a daily reminder every single day of my strength. And I want to, and that reminder of you're not doing something can make you incredibly strong and it make you understand how good you are. And it separates you from the crowd, right? So this is why I do that. So I encourage you guys for the next month. For this month, this is the first week of this month. Find something in your life that's common that you have to confront all the time, like eating pork or drinking alcohol or cursing, watching Netflix. It don't matter what it is. Pick something and say, look, I'm going to cut that by half this month. Every day, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to say, I'm going to cut this thing I do every day in half. And I'm going to make a conscious effort to do that. I promise you, if you do that, you're going to see changes in your life. You're going to see your ability to do things you didn't do before. Your mind is going to start expanding. Now, if I can do that, what else can I do? That's a great first step for people when they want to see or want to march toward success, right? I always tell people, find something in your life, don't matter what it is, and cut it out. You can even say, look, I'm going to cut it by half. And I encourage you guys to stop cursing. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm saying it will give you a marker every single day of something you have to restrain yourself from doing. All of a sudden, you'll realize your mind is expanding. Your vocabulary is expanding. You're starting to see things different. You're like, how is this? I just stopped this one thing. Maybe since I stopped cursing, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can exercise. Maybe I can do this. It'll be a changing point in your life, right? So that's what I encourage you guys to do. And it's a challenge that I give to each and every one of you to pick something in your life. It don't matter what it is. Eating out could be one, and cut it by half. And I promise you, you'll see changes in your life. So before we get started, get this chat up. So we're going to talk. What we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about Brise. We're going to talk about crypto. We're going to talk about some Amazon. Then we're going to talk about the Bank of America mortgages. Now I posted it earlier. Whenever it happened, I think it was on Thursday or whatever, and it kind of went viral. I got like 300 or 400. And Amber says that's a good point. Amber says I love cursing. That's why you should cut it. Right? You say I love cursing. Well, cut it. See what happens. Do me a number for the next week. Amber said she loves cursing. Next week, just do me a favor, and you can DM me. I want to hear how it goes. Promise yourself on Tuesday morning. Now I'll give you Labor Day. I'll say you got Labor Day to curse. On Tuesday morning, wake up and say, I'm going to cut my cursing by half. I'm going to choose different words to use instead of that. Now, it's not about the cursing. Who cares? Words are words. It don't matter. It's about a conscious effort to do something. Now your mind is thinking differently. Instead of saying this word, I got to say another word. Instead of doing this, I got to do something else. I got to adjust. I got to find ways to do that. And it opens your mind up to a whole world of possibilities. I encourage you to do that. Just see how it goes for a month. I'm sorry, do it for a week. Give me 4 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Let me know how it goes. Right? So let's move on. So first thing I want to talk about is that there was a lot of excitement this week about the Bank of America mortgages, right? And I want to give a good lesson in how mortgages work and how banks work, because a lot of people were excited. A lot of people were excited about this thing that Bank of America announced, saying that they were going to give minorities in minority neighborhoods access to more mortgages, right? Because they said they're even going to think about or test disregarding credit scores, which we know in the minority community, because of different biases or whatever, we tend to have lower credit scores, right? Because of economic situations or whatever it is. But the true fact is we have a lower credit scores on average than other Americans. But a lot of people screamed and were happy and excited about this change, right? And I think about it is I applaud it in concept. It seems like a good idea, but I know how the banks think. I know how banks work. I know how finance works. And I promise you, the banks don't ever end up on the bad side of the stick. They will always figure out a way to make their money. If they're going to they're going to take on more risk by giving somebody who they consider a risk a mortgage, they're going to make it up some other kind of way. And this is what's so dangerous about the banks. This is why it's so important to understand how finance and risk works, because the banks will always shift the risk to you whenever they can. And your job is to shift it right back to them. A lot of people look at money, to look at finance, look at wealth building. They say, look, I want to make as much money as I can, but they disregard risk. Risk is very important. The banks know this. That's why half of what the banks do is managing risk. Half of what they got entire office buildings full of people who do nothing but manage and offload risk all day. Because risk is where you lose money. Risk is where you don't make as much profit as you could have. That's the reason why they do this, right? So if the banks give you a mortgage to somebody who they think is in a bad neighborhood or something they think is a risk, I promise you they're gonna make the money up. They're gonna get it from you. Banks don't take on more risk; they shift it to you. And I'm gonna tell you a good example: the PMI system. Now I want to know how many of you have a mortgage and you're still paying PMI, private mortgage insurance. Give me a show of hands. How many people are still paying PMI? I'm gonna explain to you what it is, because so many people don't understand what they're paying. They think it's a positive thing. But I'm explaining to you what PMI is and what happened, why PMI is so prevalent now on mortgages, right? Who understands what PMI is? Now, Ailey has a good point. Never pay PMI, put down 20%. Now, traditionally, before the early 90s, this is how things were done. PMI was rare. It was around, but it was rare, right? Because by putting 20% down on a mortgage, the bank has more leeway, because look, if you default, let's say, for example, you take the loan over today, you default on the first payment, the banks know they can get their money back because you already paid off 20% of the house. So they know they can get their money back. Therefore, the risk is lower. Now, in the early 90s, 1993, I believe, it was a mortgage act that the government passed, which in the 1990s, the US government started figuring out that new homes were a great way to boost up the American economy. People are working on the homes, selling the homes, real estate agents, all these different things going on. So the US government decides we want everybody to have a house because the more people that have houses, the more this economy gets boosted up and the more people make more money, right? So 1993, they passed that and said, look, we're going to extend mortgages to a different set of people who couldn't get mortgages before. Before that, everybody had to put down 20%. Your grandparents probably never had to pay PMI. But PMI went, so 1993, they passed the law that says, look, we want everybody to have mortgages, right? So the banks, all of a sudden, you force the banks to accept 3% for whatever the FMA loans. The bank's going to respond, well, we can't take on that kind of risk. Somebody puts down 3%. Well, if they default the next day, we're out on luck. So we're gonna use this thing that's always been around, but nobody's really using it, called PMI. Private mortgage insurance, one of the biggest thefts, one of the biggest ripoffs that ever existed, and everybody just pays it like it's nothing. I'm going to tell you what PMI is. Now, you see it on the line. You figure you got to pay it. It's just part of the mortgage. This is something we got to do. PMI is a way that the banks shifted the risk away from them to you. You put down 3% and you think you're doing good, but you got to pay PMI. Over 5 years, you've paid back the 20% you would have had to pay down anyway by PMI more premiums. So let's say, for example, you had a $400,000 house. Let's say $200,000. Those numbers are easier. $200,000 house. You were supposed to put down $40,000, right? $40,000 goes down. You got 20% equity down in your house, right? So you own 20% of the house, basically. So you say, look, the government says, all right. Well, the banks say, well, we can't take on that risk. That's too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to make them pay PMI, which is the same difference. Except now, after 5 years, you don't own 20% of the house. The insurance payments just disappeared in the thin air, right? So it made the insurance companies richer. And the crazy thing is, I want you guys to research this. The banks own the insurance companies. The banks own the private mortgage insurance companies. They own them. So the premiums go, Bank of America says, whoa, you 3% down in this house, you got to put PMI down. All right, well, you say, well, it's a good idea because I don't have no other way I can get a house. So you pay that PMI premium. Bank of America is protected because if you don't pay for that house, they get the mortgage insurance pays for the house. But guess what? Something else you didn't know. If you default on that mortgage, the PMI only ensures that the bank itself gets their money. The insurance company goes after you because to replenish that money. So regardless, if you default, that insurance in no way protects you. It only protects the banks. That's it. It only protects the banks. So a lot of you are saying, I didn't know all this about PMI. I didn't understand this. I've been paying it for years. But PMI can be removed. But the crazy thing is the banks won't do it unless you call them. You could be paying your PMI for years. And this is the thing about it, is that PMI is required until there's a 78% you own 78% loan, what do you call it, debt to value ratio, which means that at least what you own the house is up to 78% of what the total value is, right? So now, in the last 2 years, or last year, really, we can just do last year, houses went up 20-30% in some areas. I bet some of y'all still paying PMI. The banks won't take it off, even though your house may have went up 40%. You may have a $200,000 house went up to $300,000. You only owe 66%, 2/3 of what the value was. They won't take it off unless you call them and do the paperwork. If you just let it go, they'll keep taking in premiums every month. So you got to call. You got to do an appraisal in most cases, or you got to argue with them one time. I had to do it one time for like 2 weeks till they took it off. So, or you can refinance out of it. So there's 2 ways out of it. You can call and tell them, look, man, my value of my house is higher now. I'm looking online right now. They're going to say they don't want to go. We don't go by those because of course they don't. They go by their own appraisal. But you can call the banks and you can get your own appraisal for like $300 or $400, $500. I don't know what the appraisal costs, $500, and they'll remove that PMI. And that'll save you a lot of money over the long term. Second, you can refinancing out of it also. So if you have, I want each and every one of you to have a mortgage, to check your mortgage statement and see if you still have PMI and see if you can get it removed, right? But I say all this to say that whenever banks do something, it seems positive. They on the back end, they're going to get their money back some other way. So with these minority mortgages, they're going to charge it to they always shift the risk to the consumer. So some way, somehow, I don't know how they're going to do it. Bank of America is going to shift that risk to minorities. They're not going to take on risk of hundreds of mortgages. They can't do that. They're a bank. Their business is to offload risk. They will either give a bunch of mortgages out and sell them off to another company that's probably bad, or they'll shift the risk and do some kind of insurance and make you pay for it. There's no way in heck they're going to actually do this without shifting the cost and the risk to the minorities they're trying to help. That's exactly what's going to happen. Right? They will never help you because the bank is a very logical, almost sociopathic organization. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have nothing against the banks. It's just that you have to know their game so you can counteract it. That's all I say. Is you have to know their game so you can counteract it. This is a game they're playing. If somebody beats you in chess, that's not bad to beat somebody at chess. They just beat you. But it's your responsibility to learn the game so you can at least fight back. So that's what that is, right? They can do whatever they want. That's the game. You're playing a game of life, the game of economics, or whatever it is. This is a game, right? And you got to learn the game. This is why it's important for you guys to constantly learn, constantly grow, constantly get new information because game changes. Game is always changing, and you have to know how it goes, right? So we got 300 people in here. So I need you guys. I got 146 likes, so I need some more likes. I need more likes here. So if you're so let's move on. So I want to talk about two more things. I want to talk about Brise and I want to talk about Amazon, right? Let's talk about Amazon. I want to talk about now. It's been going down really in a bear market for months. And there's a lot of it that probably shouldn't be going down as much, right? Because whenever there's a bear market, all stocks will fall in most cases. But it's also a great opportunity to find some of these stocks that shouldn't be going down and buy them while they're cheap. Now, this is a long-term play, right? That's what's so important to understand. And it's so sad. You go back a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I used to do these lives, especially on Instagram. I'd have 4,000 people in the live sometimes, right? Because stocks were moving, stocks were hot, people were making money. Now we got 400 or 500 people. Now I'm appreciative for everybody's in there, but it's kind of sad that people jump off of it like this. Now, anybody that's over 25 years old knows that there's been like 3 cycles in their life where stocks have been up and down. Now, I don't understand why it's so hard for people to understand that it's coming back. I think it's a psychological problem. I forgot I read about it. I forgot what the fallacy is whenever something's going down, people continue to think it's going to go down. They get scared and panic. Then when it goes up, they jump on. And this is the reason why so many people lose so much money because of this, right? Because you don't understand what's going to happen next. This is just a cycle. And there's a lot of stocks that are out there that are going to do well in the next 2 years that people are missing out on. One's Amazon. I think that Amazon is going to, especially since the split, especially in a down market, Amazon is a great, great buy right now. And I'm buying it every chance I get because I know where Amazon is going. I know Amazon is expanding their business model to include cloud computing in the AWS. And more companies, if you guys don't know, are jumping on this platform, right? A lot of companies are jumping on to AWS because of ease of use. It's actually expensive, but ease of use, and it's a constant uptime in the websites. And you got support, and you got all these things. Even though it costs more, it's a lot easier than having a bunch of servers at your office. So a lot of people are moving over to AWS. So this gives Amazon an extreme amount of leverage over tech companies in the next few years, right? So I encourage, Mo said hot hand fallacy. That's right, Mo. It's hot hand fallacy. You're right. But the next few years, there's a lot of money to be made in Amazon. I'm taking out some long-term options and also buying the stock because I believe in 2024, we're going to see a big turnaround, not only in stocks, but in crypto. We know that the Bitcoin halving is happening. Let me see where it's happening right now. I think it's in 2024, but the date always changes because it's not by dates, it's by blocks, blocks. So I don't know what. Let's see the exact date of it, of the Bitcoin halving. So it's supposed to happen in March, between February and June of 2024. Probably, I think it would be earlier, probably March or something. So we all know what's coming. We all know what's going to happen. We've seen it before, right? And it's easy. I'm gonna bring up the Bitcoin halving chart because I want people. I mean, it's so crazy that people don't understand. People are not getting this, right? Let me see. Let me get this open. At least I can show the screen and stuff here, so it's a lot better. So what just happened there? Oh, okay. So if we take a look here uh, at this Bitcoin halving chart, right? Let me see if I can make it a little bigger. There we go. So if we take a look at it right here, is that we can see over the years, Bitcoin half one, two, three times. Every time, if we look at the green part, there's been a spike up in the price. Well, about 6 to 7 months, it'd be almost a year after that. We saw there's a red mark where it goes down, continuation on the yellow. Then after the halving, it spikes right back up as times, right? It's the same exact pattern. And it's so funny that people can't see this because it's one of the easiest ways I've ever seen in my life to make money. It's one of the easiest ways, and I'm telling you guys, please don't let this next cycle go by and not take advantage of it. Now we got a super chat. Is the book still going to be released this year? Yeah, the book's going to be released late this year in the fourth quarter. Uh, we got the cover. We got the cover design. I put it up there, but I didn't put the title yet. So the book is going to be out late December. So let's move on. So we got any questions before we move on to Brise? We're going to talk about crypto. We're going to talk about specifically Brise. Then we're going to move on from there. I'll give you guys a minute or so to ask any questions. But remember, I just encourage you guys to just take a look at your mortgage, see if you're still paying PMI. Because that you don't need to be paying. That could save you to $100, $200, $300 a month. And they won't take it off unless you ask them. So we got a question about XRP. So yeah, XRP is still on the same path as it always was. It's still undervalued even in a bear market. Now, the only thing that's holding XRP back, and I've said this many times, I'll just repeat it, is that the federal government it won't let this lawsuit go. For whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is, but they won't let it go, right? But as soon as this is over, which eventually it will be resolved, and I think they're going to come out of it positive, XRP is going to go back probably 8, 9, 10 times from where it is today, wherever it's at the time. And there's going to be a spike as soon as XRP gets re-released or replaced back on exchanges and people have access to the coin again. Somebody says, can you speak on passive? I don't know what that is. What is passive? Somebody said, can we talk about the state of the stock market? The stock market is in a bear market. It was in a bull market for like 4 or 5 years, maybe more. Now we're in a bear market. Bear market is when stocks go down, when people start taking profits from the previous cycle, right? So with that being said, is that in a bear market, we don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know how significant it's going to be, but we are in a bear market. But bear markets are when the most millionaires are made in the stock market. It's not when the stock's already going up, because once it's going up, a lot of the people that got in now start selling, right? There's a saying in the stock market for professionals, for more advanced people that make a lot of money with stocks, is they say these words. They say, you sell on the way up. I know for a new beginner, they're going to say sell on the way up. Well, I'm gonna wait until it gets to the highest. Nah, you don't do that. You sell on the way up. You get out while it's still going up, and you buy it when it's down. Right on the way down, you buy it. On the way up, you sell it, and that's a recipe to make a lot of money over a lot of years with stocks, crypto, and any other asset. Right? Let's move on. So before we continue, uh, the sea is reopened. Right? So let me get it. So if you're interested in joining the CNC, text the word CNC to 888-709-2614. It's a great community. We give stock plays, crypto plays, we got classes, we got a roundtable. I'm sorry, after party after each strategy Sunday, and we talk about all the concepts that we talked about today on Strategy Sunday. A lot of people made a lot of money. If you've been making money in the CNC, drop the money bags or drop the fire some or whatever. Because I think last week we did a play for 200, 300%, 200%, somewhere in there. We make a lot of money in the CNC. It's changed a lot of people's lives, not only education wise, but straight money wise, right? A lot of people have bought houses, cars, paid for their tuition, a lot of things, right? So, like I said, I encourage you guys at least take a look at it. Text the word CNC to 888-709-2614 or click the link in this description um, in my link tree. And it's the second link in my link tree. I think it is. Let me see. So, Brise. We're going to talk a little bit about Brise. We're going to talk a little bit about the state of crypto, and we're going to talk a little bit about some other things. So we got a good point. BitGert, right? So Brian says BitGert still has a plenty of room for growth as a 5-10 year play like Myota. We need adoption. Now, the thing about BitGert is that it's a great play. And the reason why is because it's so undervalued, right? And it's got a lot of potential. And these are plays that I like to do, right? Because if you do with these types of plays, and I talk about this concept in my book, with these types of plays, right, is that the risk is not low in this, right? This is a high risk play. Big curve may not even work out, but if it does, you're gonna make 100 times your money. If it doesn't, you lose one time. So we will do plays like this, maybe 3 or 4 of them, and just if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does, it does. But if it does, we make 100 times our money. So this is a lot of times how this is how investment banks work. This is how private equity works. This is how venture capital works. Is that they'll have 100 projects. They may throw 1 million, 2 million each one. 90% of them are gonna fail. But those 10% that do well make all the money for the other 90% that they lost. This is how the rich get richer because they're able to see risk for what it is, an opportunity, analyze that risk, and then make money off the risk. But the poor people look at risk and they get scared. Oh my God, I could lose my money. Oh my God. That's why the poor stay poor and the rich stay rich. Because understanding this thing called risk. Risk is not bad. It's nothing. It's just a variable, right? That's it. It don't, but a lot of times when we're in poverty or we're in middle class, we're so afraid of risk. We're so afraid of doing anything on our own. We're so afraid of taking any economic or financial risk that we let the man control us our entire lives. So this point is breaking down. So yeah, so see, somebody made 2,000 this week in the CNC. That's what I'm saying. I give you a challenge right now. Text the word, text CNC to 888-709-2614. Sign up for it. Sign up for the Discord. Join in. Take a few classes. Pay attention. And give me 3 weeks. If you don't make your money back 3 times, I'll refund you the money for the Discord and I'll let you stay in the rest of the month. That's how confident I am that you'll make money in the Discord. If all you got to do is pay attention, take a few classes, be active, practice risk management, you will make it's $39 a month. You'll make $100 the first 2 weeks back, and probably more. But I'm just saying as a minimum. If you don't say, Armando, man, I didn't make $100. All right, here's your money back. I'll give you your money back in 2 weeks, and I'll let you stay the rest of the month. That's how much confidence I have in the CNC right now. So text the word CNC to 888-709-2614 and join. So I'm surprised Tall Guy Tycoon doesn't know anything about home passive. I don't know everything about every single technology, man. It's like it's too many of them. I'm sorry. Got a good. I appreciate that $5, Nancy. Thank you. What cold wallet can Brise be stored on? So let's take a look at it, right? Let's take a look at it. So we take a look at Brise. Brise is a ERC20 token, right? So because it's ERC20, it could be stored on any ERC20 wallet, but it may not show up, but it could be stored there. But you have to any ERC20 wallet will store Brise. So HTFD Finest made 2,000 this weekend at CNC. That's pretty good. Yeah, I'll take a look at on passive. I don't know. I've never heard of it, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about every single technology that ever is out there, right? It's thousands and thousands of ones released every day. But I'll take a look at it. It sounds interesting. Uh, it's 888-709-2614. I'll put it back on the screen for you. So I need you guys to do something for me. Like the comp, please like the video. I don't have enough likes. It's 300, 400 people in here, but I don't have that many likes. I'm supposed to have at least 500 likes by now. Don't have that many likes. Something's going on. Only got 200 likes, but yet that's 350 people, and I need 100 more likes. So somebody asked a good question. Before we talk about one more thing, is it possible to do day-to-day day trading as a main income? It is. It is possible to do that, but you got to have capital, right? This is a question I like. It says, it's too late to get into Brise. Um, I don't believe it is. I think it's still like because Brise is still very, very undervalued, even though it's went up, 300% since we started talking about it. I think it's still. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm telling you what I would do. I would probably get into it, even if I found about it out about it today, because there's a lot of potential. But remember, it's high risk, right? Some things are high risk than others. Like Bitcoin's a lower risk, but you're not going to get 100 times your money in Bitcoin no more. But you probably won't lose your money all 100% either. So it's all about managing risk. Peter just joined the CNC. Welcome, brother. If you have any questions, make sure you hit me up. And like I said, if you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. You got 2 weeks, and I promise you'll make your money back if you pay attention and you watch for a little while though before you jump into it, and then jump into it the second week, and you'll make your money back. All right, guys. So let me give you guys about 5 minutes to answer any questions. I'm gonna let you guys go for the night. All right, so no questions. So like I said, I hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your Labor Day week.